just add something. All right, hello, hello. Camera, turn on. Oh, good, yay, we got it. Hello, everyone. Oh, I'm super excited. Here we are. Hi, everybody, and welcome, welcome. Welcome to, welcome to At Home with Waldorf. Hi, everybody, and welcome, welcome. This is a free, I'm going to turn the sound off on my phone so I don't hear that. Hi, everybody, welcome to At Home with Waldorf, the first of my monthly webinars, free webinars that are just for Waldorf homeschoolers. So I'm so glad you're here with me. And I want to thank you so much for joining me. I know that this takes some effort to make arrangements and be here, even when it's an online event. So thank you so much for making the time today to be here with me at Home with Waldorf. So I started this project because I really want all of us to support each other in feeling both more at home with our Waldorf experiences, and to acknowledge that we are at home doing our learning with our children. So thanks for joining me. It's really exciting to have you here. So if you are a homeschooling mom like I am, and wondering how you might keep things rolling during the month of December, that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. I have some great ideas, some tips, and some ideas for you to not only take care of yourself during this busy time of year, but also to continue in providing a little bit of rhythm and some enriching activities for your children. So that's going to be our topic, homeschooling through the holidays, and we're going to work on ways of keeping it super, super simple. So here we are, it's December 1st, and in the United States, we had Thanksgiving last week. Some of you are probably celebrating Advent, and this is really the beginning of that slide through the month of December and into the new year. And it can get a little bit crazy for sure during this time of year. So it can be a whole lot of fun, and sometimes there's some stress that goes along with that. So we're going to talk today about self-care and reducing that stress in certain ways, and then also about homeschooling and lessons and what that might look like. Because we want to be taking good care of ourselves as well as our children and really the whole family, so that we can have a joyful holiday season together. So for those of you who don't know me yet, I'm Jean, and I'm the founder of Waldorf-Inspired Learning.com. And my mission is to help mamas just like you find joy and connection in your homeschooling. I have 3 children and have been homeschooling for over 20 years. You're going to get to see a couple of photos of all of us in a minute. But my kids, their ages now are I have 2 boys and a girl, and they're all in their teens and 20s at this point. Very exciting to have them launched in one way or another. The youngest is still in high school, so she's a junior in high school this year. So really, any way you figure that, it's a lot of main lesson blocks that we have gone through and experienced together. So again, let me welcome you to At Home with Waldorf. This is our free December webinar, and I just want to give you a couple of tips for participating today. Just a couple housekeeping pointers. So my first request of you is if you would please type your name and where you're from into the chat box. So if you haven't found the chat box yet, it's right below the video on the page that you're watching. And there's actually a little trick for the chat box that might be helpful to you. If in the upper right hand corner is should be a little square icon. It kind of looks like a comment icon. And if you click that, it'll pop the chat box out up right next to the video, and then you can slide it over to the right where there's some room in the sidebar. And then that way you can be watching the video and the chat at the same time. So we do have a giveaway today. I'm going to tell you more about that in just a minute. But the way to enter the giveaway is by putting your name and where you're from. So it can just be a first name and a city and state, or city and country. Put your name and where you're from type that into the chat box. And it's at the very bottom of the chat. And then you just click enter, and that's going to be your entry into the giveaway today. So that is the first step. And my daughter is helping me manage the giveaway, so she'll be keeping track of that for us today. Thank you, Lila. As I said, go ahead and type your name in and where you're from. The giveaway is going to be my Celebrating the Seasons Winter Guidebook. This will help you with your month of celebrating. Here's sorry for the glare. Here's a hard copy of it. But you'll get an electronic copy. And it is full of all kinds of ideas for specifically creating a spiral walk. And people choose to do these spiral walks at at a lot of different points during this season. You have many options. So some people do an Advent spiral, and others choose to do it. We've done it, the way it's described in here is for the winter solstice, because we've been parts of groups in which people are celebrating a variety of holidays during this time of year. And so the winter solstice has been one way that we can come together for an activity. But this will walk you through setting up a solstice or any kind of spiral walk for Advent, solstice. You could do it Christmas Eve, you could do it New Year's Eve, anytime during this month. Setting up a spiral walk for just your family, or you could invite some other families and friends to join you, which is always really fun. I love doing it at night, outdoors. It's such an amazing experience to really get a feel for the winter and lighting up the night, because you set candles out around the spiral. So this will tell you exactly how to go about that. It also comes with 6 recorded songs and some verses for you to use. And then there's also a section on Candlemas. So this is the giveaway today. And at the end, I'll also have a coupon code. So for those of you who, for the rest of you who don't win the giveaway, you can use the coupon code if you want to purchase it. Okay, so here, let me just tell you briefly what to expect during the webinar, during our time together here today. And this will be our rhythm, really, each time. This webinar is going to happen, At Home with Waldorf will be taking place the first Tuesday of every month at this same time, and you can watch it live and that way participate in the giveaway, but you can also watch the recording. So each time we gather, there'll be a short intro like this, and then I'll delve deeply into one topic each time. Today it's homeschooling through the holidays. But I'll look at one topic each time, so if you have some topic requests, please let me know that. But we'll delve into a topic more deeply. I'll weave some songs and verses into that. And then we'll have a giveaway, and there will be a discount code for one of my products each time. And then we'll have some time for a Q&A. I also have a special, I love reading quotes from Rudolf Steiner, the founder of Waldorf Education. So I'll have a quote of the month, and so we'll get to also discuss different things that are on your mind. So all of that, the goal is to do all of that in an hour or under an hour, because I know all of us, our time is precious. So without further ado, here we go. So that what I'm going to do is share my screen. I have some slides, so give me a second here. I'm going to share my screen with you. Sorry, it's not at the beginning. Here we go. Okay, so here we are, At Home with Waldorf. This is the December webinar. I'm super, super excited. And look, I'm looking at the chat here. This is great. All these friends, thank you for being here. Crystal and Cynthia, thank you. Vana, hi Vana. Suzanne, this is great. So thank you all. Nice to have you here. So At Home with Waldorf, homeschooling through the holidays. So my idea is that I really want to drive home with you here is to, like I said in the beginning, to bring comfort to all of us, some comfort and sense of community to all of us who are doing this Waldorf method at home, and then to also help us feel more at home with this approach, which can be daunting sometimes, right? So I want to just start with just a little bit of my family's story. So here are some pictures of my family. The first picture on the left is just from last week, where we were gathered for Thanksgiving. There's the 5 of us. The middle picture is my daughter and our beloved dog, Gus. He's a favorite of everybody's. And then the picture on the right is a picture of my older kids, my boys, at a wedding this fall. So here's just a quick story about our homeschooling journey. I loved the idea of homeschooling, and I'd even heard about Waldorf, although I didn't know a lot about it. I'd heard a little bit about Waldorf education and was really, really drawn to it. But then I was really overwhelmed by being at home all day with 2 little boys. So my boys at that point were probably 3 and 2, I think, and very active. And I remember one February, it can be very cold and gray here in Cleveland in February. I remember one February, I decided that maybe I ought to go look at preschools because I didn't know if I could keep doing this anymore. So as a teacher, I have a Master of Arts in Teaching. I looked for advice. I read a whole bunch of articles about what teachers recommend you look for when you go to see preschools. So the best advice I found was, when you go look at a preschool, find a child who is like yours, who reminds you of your own child, and watch how the teacher interacts with them. So no. I don't know why I can't put the PowerPoint in full screen. Such a good question. I'm a bit new at this, so sorry, I can't. Maybe I can hide this and make that bigger. Okay, sorry, technical challenges here. No, I don't know how. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. So I went to visit this preschool, and I watched how the teacher, I found a boy who was very similar to my son, and I watched how the teacher interacted with him, and I was amazed that she was really annoyed with him because he was the child who was, still in the play area while it was time to come to circle. And then he finally made it to circle, and he was not really quite engaged until it was practically time for them to move on to the next thing. So that was really challenging for me to see, and I came home realizing, you know what, this isn't going to work for us. It just plain isn't going to work. I have really, really active children, and I can't see putting them in this kind of situation where someone else is going to be annoyed with them. I figured that even though I had some challenging days, I could do better than that. So we decided to continue or start, really, at that point, homeschooling. So here we go. So today I want to share with you some of the wisdom I've collected over all of these years, and really start the conversation by dividing the topic up into two sections. So the first is self-care, because I think we really have to take care of ourselves in order to be able to take care of our kids, right? So self-care, and that's the first step. And then the second is homeschooling our children. So Rudolf Steiner, the founder of Waldorf education, he refers to self-care as inner work, which is really a piece of it to me, but I like to expand on that and think of it as an even bigger project, I might say, than just inner work. So there are lots of parts to this. Sorry, I skipped ahead. There are lots of parts to this, but the piece, the inner work that Steiner talked about mostly was to encourage us to be contemplative and really focus on prayer and meditation. He wrote a lot about how the life of the teacher, the inner life of the teacher, was critical to the quality of the teaching. So he suggested prayer and meditation, but I really want to expand on that because I think all these aspects of self-care help us stay strong. And if you're someone who tries to do it all and really just pushes through no matter what, you may find that you don't really accomplish all that much, and you're tired and discouraged. So the hint is really important here that self-care comes first. So I want to help you craft a plan for the month of December and into January, really. And remember that these are just some ideas. You don't have to do all of these ideas, but I want you to just listen and think about a few that might resonate with you. Okay, so in terms of self-care, I've come up with this acronym that I find really helpful to me, and it's Fortify My Ship. That's a phrase that I came up with from these three letters, FMS. So the F stands for food, family, and friends. And let me just say that this acronym is helpful in any times of stress. So it could be, you know, you have a new baby, it could be you're moving, but particularly during the holidays. So, sorry. So as mothers, we're trained to take care of other people, but not really seek help for ourselves. And I think we need to really consciously create a plan for ourselves if we want this parenting and homeschooling. We're parenting plus we're homeschooling if we want it to be sustainable over the long haul. So here's Fortify My Ship. The F stands for food, family, and friends. The M is meditation and movement. The S stands for stress reduction and sleep. We definitely want to keep our stress low. So I'm going to go over each of these and just give you some ideas, and you can see which of these you might find really helpful. So here we are with the F, which stands for food, as I said, food, family, and friends. So I'm not intending to add more to your to-do list by any means, but my goal is balance. So I'm going to give you 2 or 3 ideas in each of these categories, and you just see what resonates for you. And the goal is, of course, to bring plenty of good things that feed us, and then minimize the things that are more toxic or overtaxing to us. So in the area of food, here we go. We want to be sure to eat really healthy foods. I know, like this past weekend over Thanksgiving, you know, my very favorite thing about Thanksgiving is family and friends all gathered together. But my favorite food of Thanksgiving are the pies. And so I always give myself permission to have pie for breakfast the next day. You know, I get to eat as much pie as I want. Well, the truth is that it's also important to eat healthy foods, particularly lots and lots of vegetables. And it's too easy during the holidays to just slip into eating lots and lots of treats. So one of my tips for food this time of year is to pick 3 dinners that you can make on the fly, that you always have the ingredients for on hand, and make sure they have plenty of healthy vegetables in particular in them. And you know, for us, this is a chicken stir fry, and then I have this really wonderful ground turkey dish that I make, and then salmon and broccoli is a favorite too. So having the supplies for those and just having those in the back of my mind, and knowing that if I get in a pinch, I know that I can make that a really healthy food. Of course, don't overdo it on sugar or caffeine. I have to be really careful about processed sugar. I don't eat it. If I do eat it, I get a headache. I don't do caffeine either, but every once in a while I'll cheat with that if I'm exhausted. It's important, though, for me to know that if I'm craving sugar and caffeine, I've already overdone it, and it's really a sign to scale back. So then the last tip on food that I have is to do some menu planning and really keep it simple. I use a wonderful online tool called Plan to Eat. There's a link below the video. You can check it out if you want. It is an affiliate link. I've been using it for a couple years now, and I just love it. It's a drag and drop planning system, and then it generates once you've planned your week, it generates a shopping list for you, and it's been so helpful to me. It's really, really reduced the amount of time I spend thinking about food, and also has upped our healthy food dinners enormously. So something I highly recommend. If you don't have that, just find a calendar, print a calendar from someplace on the internet, and fill it in for the month of December with simple meals all the way through, and then you're done. So that I find is super helpful. All right, the next category is family, and I want to tell you about this concept of alternating active days with calm days. This is a concept that comes from Kim John Payne of Simplicity Parenting. And he talks about how important it is when we have a really, really active day to surround that by calm and take it easy, the next day. I also live with autoimmune disease, and in that autoimmune world, that's called activity pacing, but it's a similar concept where if we have a lot of output of energy one day, the next day we want to minimize things and make sure we take care of ourselves and have some downtime. So the next tip is to really pay attention to everyone's needs for downtime, because we all need downtime. We can't just go and expect everything to work out just fine. The younger the children are, or children of certain temperaments, need this more than others too. So an important thing to pay attention to. Okay, and the last category is friends. Now, friends are a wonderful part of our lives for all of us, and it's about balance. So we want to embrace our friends, but we don't want to overdo it. This time of year, sometimes we have so many activities and invitations and parties and things that we always feel compelled to say yes to. But the truth is, we can pick and choose. So know that you can say no, and be sure to connect with those who keep you really grounded. And then just minimize the contact with those who don't. It's really okay. You can do that. All right, on to the M of Fortify My Ship. This stands for meditation and movement. And these are really good things to balance against each other, I find. I have to say about meditation that I am not a fabulous meditator. It does not come naturally to me. I have a pretty active mind, and yet I've really worked at practicing having some quiet time each morning, and it makes such a huge difference. So the way I would define meditation, the way it works for me, is that I do some sort of reading. It's often a poem, but sometimes it's like spiritual inspiration or from a book of readings that have, reading each day. Rudolf Steiner has a book called Calendar of the Soul where he has 52 readings, so one for each week through the year. But it's really a great starting point for me to have a reading of some sort. And then I just close my eyes, get really still, and have some quiet time where maybe I'm just repeating a couple of words from the poem or the reading that I've just done, words that really speak to me, that will help me carry me through my day. Steiner has a wonderful poem called Inner Quiet that's one of my favorites, and I have a link to that below too, because I a while back did a blog post that has the words to that poem in it. It's one I've done for years and years and years, and one that I have memorized, so when I sit quietly I can just say it to myself in my head. And I highly recommend setting a timer for this, because then you don't have to be thinking, oh, how long have I been sitting here? When is this going to end? Do I have to stay here much longer? That kind of thing. It can help you really relax. I think it's really interesting that the mood of this time of year, the mood of the earth outside, is getting quieter and darker, right? But we are all sort of ramping up. Instead, it's helpful to think about wanting to match the mood outside and really giving ourselves some space for some inner quiet. Okay, so movement is critical to our days, and movement can include all kinds of things, like a daily walk. We have a mini trampoline at our house, and a yoga ball, and a rowing machine, and really just trying to incorporate movement into all aspects of our day. So I have another great resource to suggest. Jen Hoffman from Healthy Moving is a mom of 3 and a homeschooler. I'll put a link to that below too, but she's really a proponent of, and a great support if you find you need support in this arena, a great support for incorporating or weaving movement throughout your day, because really what she says is that movement, to be most effective, it's actually better to have little bits of movement all day long than to have one longer chunk of, intense exercise. So weave movement into your day. Go outside every day, no matter how cold it is. You just need the right clothes. There's no such thing as bad weather, only bad gear. So movement and meditation, those are really good things to weave in every single day. All right, the S in Fortify My Ship is the final step in our self-care, and it stands for stress reduction and sleep. And these are probably the most important, absolutely critical. So to reduce our stress, really the first step is we have to recognize it. So I think as moms, we're so tuned into everybody else that we forget to check in with ourselves. So we really need to check in and see, is the stress building up? And if it is, take a break. You can say, I need a break. You can say no to activities. We really want this homeschooling thing to be sustainable, and just pushing through doesn't make it so. I can speak from personal experience. When I was in my late 30s during a really stressful time of our lives, I had a major health crisis, and it forced me to live my life very, very differently. And now I have to work at daily care, taking care of myself. And I really, really want to support other moms to do this too. I have to say that in a way it's a blessing, because it brings more balance. I find ways to have a weekly Sabbath or a rest day, and ways to sit down and take a break in the afternoon, or do some art that helps feed my soul or something like that. Because it's important. It's important to recognize when we feel stressed, and to have an idea of what we can do about it if we do. And then the final step to fortify our ships is sleep, getting lots of good sleep. One of my rules is to turn all screens off in the evening time. I don't always accomplish this, but I work hard at really trying to do that most days, because it really improves the quality of my sleep. And I have another post that I will, I have another post that I will put below about that. It's a post called 11 Solutions for Healthy Sleep, and it has some other good tips in it. So of all these ideas for fortifying your ship during the holidays, I have this mantra: think in threes, pick one. So think about 3 of these things that sounded doable and exciting to you. Of all the tips that I've just mentioned for self-care, think of 3 of them, write them down, and then pick one. Pick one to start with. If you have success and want to pick a second one on your list, great. But focus on one at a time. That's really, really important. And that's important in all areas, really, of our lives, homeschooling included. So here we go. We're jumping to homeschooling now. So now that we are taking good care of ourselves, what about the homeschooling piece? So I got some great advice years ago from my mentor, Barbara Dewey, and she said, don't plan any main lesson blocks during the month of December. Now, I remember at first thinking, that's impossible. I never get it all in anyway. I need the month of December, right? So in Waldorf education, we do our learning and planning in blocks, and we really need to give ourselves permission to do a different type of block during the holidays. It's just like if we had a really stressful time in our lives, we need to give ourselves permission to do a different type of block. So if you want to think of it as a block, call it a holiday block, right? And the rhythm can be different, can be way simplified from what we usually might do. So that's my main tip, is to establish a rhythm that is for the whole family to do together. So instead of having separate lessons or separate activities for different ages of children, to be working all together during this month. And for me, the best thing to focus on are these three things. Number one is songs and stories. Some of us choose to start our day with these. For others, that doesn't work so well, but do weave songs and stories in somehow, whether it's at mealtime or bedtime, or while you're doing the dishes or something like that, cooking. Weaving songs and stories in is a great thing to do. And I'm going to share some with you here shortly that you can use for the month of December. The next step is or the next piece of this rhythm is our stories. So pick some stories that, I like to pick stories actually that go with the season and or with making and giving. Because I'm also going to talk about handmade gifts here in a moment. So this is a really simple rhythm that you can establish, and the stories you can pick, one a week, if you have younger children in particular, or if you have mixed ages, pick one story a week, and that's really only 3, right, or 4 stories for the whole month. Or pick a chapter book that you're doing as a read aloud, as a family read aloud. And then the final step in this rhythm is handwork and gift making. And I have a post for last minute gifts to make that's included below the video. So I like doing the rhythm in this order, starting with songs and verses, and then curling up on the couch for a story, and then doing some kind of making activity. But again, it's a matter of keeping it simple. And I just strongly want to encourage you, this is what I've done in the past. Don't do this. What I've done in the past is either I have planned really tightly a main lesson block and we don't get to it all and I'm frustrated, or I throw the whole thing out the window and pretty soon everybody's behavior is off the wall and pretty undesirable, including mine. I get pretty crabby. So I really strongly encourage you to establish a rhythm and keep to it. And even if it's only an hour each morning or 2 hours each morning of reading and making some things, if you keep a rhythm, you will keep chaos at bay. I promise you. Okay, so that's homeschooling through the holidays. Here are some specific things that you can use. So the first thing I'm going to do is share a few songs and verses with you. And here is a list of them. The first one is a poem, What the Leaves Said. The leaves said, "It's spring, and here are we opening and stretching on every tree." The leaves said, "It's summer, each bird has a nest, we make the shadow where they can rest." The leaves said, "It's autumn, we are all gay, scarlet and golden and russet were they." The leaves said, "It's winter, weary are we," so they lay down and slept under the tree. And here is a snowflake song you can use when it starts snowing in your area. Oh, where do you come from, you little flakes of snow? Falling, falling, softly falling on the earth below. On the trees and on the bushes, on the mountains afar. Tell me, snowflakes, do you come from where the angels are? King Winter. King Winter now is in the land. He rules with cold and frosty hand. He makes Jack Frost touch nose and toes and gives our cheeks a shiny glow. Here's a longer poem, Deep and Green, and sometimes it's a great plan to have older children memorize a poem that they might present at a family gathering. So here's a possibility. Deep and green the forests sleep. Around the woods the animals creep. Quietly they move around, tiptoeing on the frosty ground. The little birds do flit and fly. Over them the lead-gray sky. Underneath the roots so deep, the little furry beasts do sleep. Gusty winds blow through the wood. Smoke from fires warm and good. Windows shine with golden light. In cozy home my heart is bright. But all the creatures large and small, and for the tiniest ones of all, woods protect these little friends until the cold of winter ends. And here's one of my favorites, Chickadee, Chickadee. Chickadee, chickadee, flitting through the holly tree, with your cap and scarf of black, sweater gray upon your back. You're warm and happy in the snow, and when I hear you call, I know my little friend has come to say that winter time's just fine for play. And I will end with a candlelight song. This is great for this time of year. Hold your candlelight in the dark of night. Celebrate the cold and stillness. And I think that encourages us to get quiet. Right. Oh, thank you, Crystal. I love that snowflake song too. Okay. Yes. Sorry, I was just checking the comments. Okay, we're going to move on to stories, and I'm just going to give you some ideas for stories and then some ideas for handwork. So here is a list of stories, and what I will do with these suggestions is after the replay comes up, I'll actually bookmark the time stamp for these slides so that you can come back and write down the lists of suggestions here. If you have younger children, I'm going to go through these kind of quickly, but these are some favorites of ours. So there's a book called Sunbread, a really, really sweet book about making sunbread, and it has a wonderful recipe in it. The Giving Tree, if you haven't read that book by Shel Silverstein, it's a wonderful, wonderful story, an old classic that I highly recommend about giving. A young boy and an older character, really great. The Quilt Maker's Gift is a beautiful story. If you're doing any kind of handwork during the month of December, which I highly recommend, this is a great book to go along with that. The Story of Miss Rumphius is about each of us finding what we will do. It inspires us to find what we're going to do to make the world a better place. Richard Wright and the Library Card is also about helping others, helping each other, and is super, super inspiring. And then the final one is a favorite called The Trees of the Dancing Goats. And if you have in your life, like we do, some members of your family or friends who, in this story, neighbors, one family celebrates Hanukkah and then their neighbors celebrate Christmas, and it's a story of something, you know, that happens that brings them all together. It's really sweet. The book One Hen is a wonderful story about giving a loan to a family and what they do with it to then work, their way towards self-sufficiency. A Kid's Guide to Giving is not a fictional book. It's nonfiction, but if you have older children, it has some really inspiring ideas for how teenagers make decisions about giving either their time or money or collecting items for others. And these next two, The Wheel on the School and The Long Winter, are just great, great read-alouds. So The Wheel on the School, if you haven't read it, oh my gosh, such a great story about a community banding together to accomplish something and really appreciating each other's very unique individual gifts. So it's about personal gifts, which I think is a great complement to the physical gifts that we're giving at this time of year. And then The Long Winter, of course, is always a wonderful one to be reading at this time of year. And then finally, this book, Return of the Light, 12 Tales from Around the World for Winter Solstice, is full of myths and stories from around the world about this time of year. And it always amazes me every year how every culture, every religion has so many similarities of the light returning, quiet, calm, paying attention to what's going on with the trees and the resting that's going on in the world around us. So those are some books that I highly recommend, and picking, like I said, some to do as a read aloud as a whole family. All right, so handwork projects. I have a couple photos here. The one on the left is a picture of, it's a little hard to tell, but a handmade washcloth and some soap. So making handmade soaps are really fun too. This knitted washcloth, you can find the pattern for it, instructions for it just about anywhere on Pinterest or on the web, but it's a really easy knitting pattern, and that can be a fun gift to give. I love felting projects because you don't have to do, secure the seams. You can hand stitch it pretty easily and the seams don't unravel. So this is a scissors case, but it's also, you could make a glasses case for a grandparent or a friend. There are all kinds. You can make ornaments out of felt or coasters or all sorts of things. Felting projects are really fun. And then here are some pictures of a couple other things. I love having a day of making, decorating wrapping paper and making gift tags. And it's so easy these days because at the craft store, you can get the gift tags pre-cut and, using stamps or markers or crayons or paint or whatever you want to use, decorate the gift tags. And then food is always fun too, to have a baking day where you're making some cookies to give away to friends or family. So those are my three, pieces of the rhythm: songs and verses, stories, and handwork projects or gift making. I think those go really well together. That's plenty for the month of December for our homeschooling. Here are a few books on making things that you might want to check out. Your library probably has some of these. The Feldcraft book by Petra Berger is a Waldorf-y book, so that might be harder to find. But the other ones, Things I Can Make, is for really young children, but has great, great fun things for making things out of buttons or torn paper, things like that. The Making Things book by Ann Wiseman is for a little bit older kids and has lots of ideas for printmaking and making a book and all kinds of things like that. Sewing with Felt and Feltcraft, those are both really have a lot of fun project ideas. And then the last one, Gifts to Make and Eat, has not only ideas for making the food item to give, but also for packaging it in super fun ways. All right, so we are going to jump to Q&A. So I'm going to come back on screen for the Q&A, and then I'm going to announce the winner of the giveaway. So let me see how I do this. Hang on a moment. I don't want to do that. There we go. Okay, back. I did it. All right. This is all kind of new to me. I hope that is not showing up on your screen. I'm having a weird login thing. Okay. So back again here. And what I would like to ask you is if you have any questions for me. So please pop your questions into the chat box and I can answer those. And while I'm doing that, I would just like to ask you, if you haven't yet, to put your name and where you're from in the chat box, because Lila is going to do the drawing for the giveaway and she's going to post that in the chat shortly. So after we finish the Q&A, Lila can post that in. Okay, so Mama Nature says, can you bring the craft books back real quick? So can you tell me specifically if there's one? I can. Let me see. If there's one you have a question about specifically. Okay, where did it go? Hang on. Here we go. Craft books. Nope, too far. Sorry. Here we go. Okay, here's the list of craft books for you. And like I said, I will, I'll timestamp it, you know, after the replay gets posted, which will be right after this finishes actually. I will let you know exactly where in the recording this page is so that you can find that. Okay? All right. So I'm back. Does anybody else have a question? Anyone else have a question for me? Okay. So I'm going to have Lila tell me. Yeah, so the titles, like I said, I'm going to timestamp it so that you can go back and look at the replay for the titles and write those down. So hi, Elizabeth from France. I'm so glad you're here. And somebody's mentioning that there is a hand sewing craft book, Kata Golda. I have not seen that book, so I'd love to know the title if anybody knows it, about felting. There are a lot of great resources out there, and again, I really want to encourage you to pick one thing. So so often we get to where we have all these ideas, we sit down and write all of our ideas down, and in the end we don't get to very many, and it's because we're not being very realistic about how many we can actually do. So it's very important to, you know, I want to just reiterate my mantra of think in threes, pick one. So write down 3 ideas for handwork projects or gift making projects, and then pick one of them to start with. And if you get that one complete, then pick another one. But starting with one and just focusing on one is a really, really good way to accomplish your goal of getting things done. Okay, so here are a couple of questions. One is, my kids are 4 and 2, and the taking care of me I find really fascinating. Good, I'm so glad. So when did I start taking care of myself with meditation? So I really started when my kids were little, because I found that I would be much more centered. I couldn't, I had to get up before my children got up. Now, that didn't always happen because my oldest one would arise. super, super early, like 6:30 in the morning, but he would go and play while I had a little bit of quiet time. So I would make a cup of tea. I had a chair in my room, in my bedroom. I still do. And I would sit there, and even if it's for 5 minutes or 7 minutes, to be able to just be quiet and contemplative. That's when I started reciting to myself that Steiner verse called Inner Quiet. It was really helpful to me. Yeah, so thank you for that. All right, suggestions for 13-year-olds. I'm guessing you mean for handwork or for books. I'm not sure. So why don't you clarify which it is? For handwork, it really depends on if they know how to knit yet or not. And if they don't, I think learning to knit is always a really good place to start. But if you're not up for that this month, and that's totally okay, you know, that's a lot for the month of December. And particularly if you don't know how to knit, don't try to do that. But I like felting projects. I think felting projects using the purchased sheet felt are really, really cool to do because they're really simple. And basically you're stitching, you know, around the outside. Here's the needle case that you saw the picture of. I mean, you can see that it's 2 pieces of felt that are cut to a certain size. It's decorated on the front, which you can do however you want, but the sides then are just stitched around the edges. And it really does not take that long to make something like that, or a glasses case. I also have here, I happen to have this glasses case is also a felted project that a student actually made for me. So it holds a pair of eyeglasses and it's needle felted on the front and then stitched around the edges. So that is something that you could do too. Okay. All right. So the Kata Golda's hand stitched felt is called Kata Golda's Hand Stitch Felt 25 Whimsical Sewing Projects. That's great. Thank you for that recommendation. How do you keep your children motivated when they don't want to focus? Does this happen at 7 and is it normal? It is normal. I mean, it's different for different children, right? But definitely children can have issues with focusing. And the trick really is to build up from where you are. So instead of having this huge expectation that they're going to be able to sit for 2 hours, just do little bits at a time, and then keep increasing that. And handwork is a wonderful way to increase focus. With knitting, some children, when they're first learning to knit, can only knit a row at a time. You know, you want to make sure that you don't stop mid-row, because then it can be really confusing which direction you're knitting. Like you can pick it up backward and make mistakes, but you could do a row at a time, and maybe you're just doing a row a day or something like that, or a couple of rows a week. And it will might take a long time to finish a project, but it is something that is really, really good for focus and for persistence, you know, for training that quality of persistence. I think we often forget how small we have to start, you know, how we really have to begin at the very, very, very beginning. And that can mean in teeny tiny steps. Like we often don't break it down far enough. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. More Magic Wool. I love those Magic Wool books for sure. More Magic Wool by Angelika Volk-Gercha, Creating Pictures and Figures with Dyed Wool. Thank you for that suggestion. And oh good, put your book requests on hold. That's wonderful. So thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to announce the winner of the giveaway now, and then I'm just going to end with a Steiner quote. So Lila is going to type in the chat box, or Lila, you could if you could text me, Lila, that might be helpful because I just lost the chat box. Wait. I'm going to announce the giveaway winner now, and thank you all for being here. So if you just hang on a couple more minutes after I let you know who the giveaway winner is, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint and give you a coupon code that you can use to purchase the book if you're not one of the winners, and I'm going to end with a Rudolf Steiner quote. So yes, The Creative Family is another wonderful book. So thank you for suggesting that. And there's an Advent craft book. Very nice. Thank you. It's so great. Everybody making suggestions here. So the giveaway winner is, here we come. Dun, 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 dun. Thank you very much. The giveaway winner is Miranda from Kansas City, Missouri. So Miranda, congratulations. Thank you for being here. And if you could send me, you can send to Jean at waldorfinspiredlearning.com. You can send me your email. Then I will send you your copy of Celebrating the Seasons, which is this. Looks like this. Okay. Thanks, Miranda. And I'm just going to pop back over here. Let's see if this works, to this screen and give you the, okay, Miranda from Kansas City, Missouri is our giveaway winner. Congratulations. And then I just want to tell you a couple of things. Celebrating Winter is the item that is 15% off, and you can use the coupon code, although you're going to have to give me 15 minutes after the webinar is over because I haven't put it in yet, but you can use the coupon code December at Home. It's a capital D, but all the rest are lowercase, and no quotation marks, just the words December at Home. And it's good through next Sunday. So there's the coupon code for Celebrating the Seasons Winter if you want to purchase it. And I just want to mention that I have Inspired Learning. That's my online course coming up in February. I don't have the code for that, but thank you all. Yeah, so if you want to spread the word about that, that would be really, really great. I'll tell you more about that next month. So coupon code for Celebrating the Seasons. And I'm just going to end with a Steiner quote and tell you all thank you so, so, so much for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm getting all kinds of thank yous from you. So here's the Steiner quote of the month. I love this quote. Write it up on your wall. Put it on your mirror, on a Post-it note. Seek times of rest so that goodness and wisdom can be born. Rudolf Steiner. So may we all seek times of rest and have all kinds of joyful moments with our family. And I will just leave you with another one of my mantras, which is focus on connection rather than perfection. So I wish you wonderful, wonderful, happy holidays. And thank you again for being here. Next time, January 5th is our next Waldorf or At Home with Waldorf webinar. So thank you so, so much. Bye.